Hey folks, my name is John, and welcome to my bunker. Today's ride, we're going to talk about the basics of motorcycle suspensions and how modifications affect the value of your motorcycle if you decide to get them. We're going to talk about three main topics: progressive versus linear springs, compression and rebound, and damping. And this is going to be kind of a high-level overview on the topic. You'll learn a lot of the vocabulary and things like that if you're not familiar with it. The equipment manufacturers are going to be your best source of information for things specific to your bike. So if you go to do some suspension modifications, it has to be catered to your bike, yourself, which is your weight and your size. And it also has to be catered to the conditions that you're riding in. Like if you're a long distance highway rider versus a local commuter versus somebody who rides track, it all matters. Trained technicians are the only people who are really a good source of information for that. At least you'll get the vocabulary, and if you call any of the manufacturers, you'll be able to have an intelligent conversation with them. Now, we also want to go over the cost of these modifications and how it affects your bike's value if you should decide to sell it or trade it in. All right, so that said, let's get riding, folks. So a couple weeks ago, I thought I knew everything there was to know about suspensions. I mean, I work on my own bikes. I'm pretty good with tools and stuff like that. It's the forks, it's the rear shock, and, you get better ones, so you have a better ride. It's a little more comfortable. I didn't realize how much it impacts safety and how technical the suspension on your motorcycle is. So I kind of did some research and I came up with an idea. I was going to get this kit, which was made for my motorcycle. It's made by HyperPro, and it's pretty cool. Like, you put in your motorcycle type and you put in your weight, and they kind of tell you what kit to get, and it comes with everything. It comes with the oil, the springs, this, that, and the other thing. Well, I put this out on one of my group chats, and all the experts were all over me. They're like, "You don't want progressive springs." And I was like, "What the heck are progressive springs?" Well, I did some research, and now I know. Your suspension on your motorcycle is made up of several parts that kind of work together in tandem. There's the front wheels, the back wheels. There's the front forks. You have a shock or shocks in the back. Like on my SV650, the rear shock is underneath the seat. It's kind of tucked away back under there. So, like, for me to do work on that would be kind of difficult. You need some stands and some jacks and stuff. On my Honda Rebel 250, the rear shocks are on the outside. There's one on each side of the motorcycle. They're a little easier to get to. Your forks and shock absorbers and things like that are composed of springs and cylinders. And there's basically two types of springs. There's the progressive springs and linear springs. Most new mid-range motorcycles in the $10,000 to $15,000 range will come stock with progressive springs. And you can tell these springs because they're kind of tight at the top and the bottom, and then the gap widens in the spring as it gets towards the center. And the resistance is, as it says, progressive. It's sort of a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Now, linear springs are straight, and they're very evenly spaced between each of the rungs. And these are kind of preferred more by people who ride track and more technical riders. What type of spring you want is very dependent on the type of riding that you do. Compression versus rebound. Now, when you hit a bump in the road, your springs on your shock and the cylinders inside are going to compress, and when you come out of it, they're going to rebound. So going into a bump is compression, coming out is rebound. On adjustable shocks, these are going to be set separately because your compression, if it's too tight or too loose, when you go into a bump, it's going to throw you into the handlebars. And when you come out of a bump, if that is too tight or too loose, you're going to do a wheelie or something, which isn't good. The initial adjustment of the springs and your shocks and stuff is called preload. And then there's like a fine tuning, which is called damping. Now, damping controls the fluid rate inside the cylinder, and it's very dependent on the heaviness of the fluid. A heavier fluid will give you more resistance than a light fluid. This is the part that gets very technical, and to be quite honest with you, I would not feel comfortable doing this. I'm a guy who just wants to get on the bike and ride, If your compression or rebound damping is set wrong, or you have the wrong shocks for your bike or your weight or your riding, it represents a significant safety hazard. So yeah, that's a lot to swallow in one little sitting there. But the basics of it is there's two types of springs, and one is progressive and the other is linear. And progressive is sort of a one size fits all. It's like the resistance is progressive, like the spring says, and linear springs give a more consistent resistance. And those are better for like track riding and things like that, or more technical riders. If you know what you're doing and you have the time to do it, a lot of people say linear springs is much better. For a guy like me, I ride in 100 different conditions. Sometimes I'm on the highway, sometimes I'm in the city. The progressive shocks that came with my motorcycle, I think there's some preload settings on the rear that I've never messed with. And then the front is not adjustable. And quite honestly, it's been perfect for every kind of riding condition that I do. I'm not really a super aggressive rider, and I don't ride track, so I don't really need very specific damping and fine tuning of my suspension. The stock stuff has worked great for me. The only reason I'm really considering getting an upgrade to my suspension is because of the road conditions near where I live. Now, the highways around my house, this is called Route 422, and this road actually has its own Facebook page. It's had it for like 10 years or something like that, because there's a lot of accidents. Like, there's incidents that happen almost every day on this road. A lot of people have been killed on the road. Motorcyclists have died on this road, and I honestly don't feel comfortable riding down it. Okay, not comfortable might be an understatement. It's very uncomfortable, and quite honestly, it scares me half to death. I'm like terrified to ride on this road because it's so bad. Now, normally I would just avoid this road, and that's what I do. But my problem is I like the beach, and the beach is about an hour and a half away from me if I ride on the highways. And you can shoot down there and go hang out on the boardwalk and then shoot back because it's only an hour and a half. But because of these highways, I would have to take back roads to get there. And that would take like 2.5 hours to get there and 2.5 hours to get back. I'd be riding through the city at night. It's really not a good situation. So I think an upgraded suspension would really help me out significantly with this. So for me, I think these combination kits are perfect. What you do with these is you just go onto their website, you put in your type of bike, you put in the type of riding you do, your weight, and they'll tell you exactly what you need. You just get this kit, comes with everything you need. It costs about $250 for this Hyper Pro one, and I think that would be perfect. They also give you like instructions, because not every dealership or garage is going to know how to do this. So you can give them the instructions, and that'll save you some time and some money. Another company that a lot of people recommended was Race Tech. And like I said, they do the same thing. You just go in, put in your bike type of riding, your height and weight. You can call customer service, and I highly recommend people do that before you get into upgrading your suspension, because these are the experts, and they'll tell you exactly what to get and make sure you don't make any mistakes. Because your suspension, it's not just an investment; it is your safety too. So that said, that's the way I would go with this. I went to my local dealership and I showed them what I was trying to do, and they said it would probably cost about $500 or $600 to have them installed. So $250 for the shock kit and all the parts, and then $500 or $600 in labor. You're talking like $750. Now that's a lot of money for a motorcycle that really I only paid like $7,500 or $8,000 for when I bought it. That is the least expensive option though when it comes to upgrading my suspension. Now, my other option is just to get a new motorcycle, and a lot of people are leaning towards these adventure bikes. They have quite a few new ones out in the mid-size range, like 650 and 700s, and they're pretty popular. Honda has a Transalp. Aprilia has the Touareg 660. There's the Tenere 700, which comes in this cool brown color. Kawasaki has the Versys, and Suzuki has the V-Strom, which has got the exact same engine as my SV650. So now we have the age-old question, do I upgrade or trade it in? So my SV650, I love this bike. I mean, I absolutely love it. But I bought it in 2018, so it's 6 years old. What's the actual value of my bike? And how have modifications affected that value? So I put on a new exhaust. I put on a new Corbin seat. I put on some hand grips, a couple other this and that. Probably have about $1,200 invested in it. And I'm thinking, like, so I go into the dealership, I would do a trade-in, so they're going to look at the Kelley Blue Book, and they're going to say, oh, hey, John, you put all these upgrades on it, we'll give you an extra $1,000. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't exactly work that way. When you sell your bike or you go to trade it in, people want the bike to be stock, because when they look at these modifications and stuff, the first question they're going to ask is, who did these upgrades? How do I know the work is good? How does it affect the warranty? And the second thing is, when you go to buy a motorcycle, you want to personalize it, okay? Riding somebody else's mods is a lot like wearing somebody else's clothes. You know, you want to do what you want to do with it. Now, if you go to the same dealership and have them do all the work, or you go to the same garage and have them do all the work, and you keep the records on it, that might help you out some. But most people probably don't do that. So realistically, what's going to happen is the dealership's going to look at the Kelley Blue Book value, and they're going to start taking deductions for anything that you put on that they have to replace. So let's look at the numbers of this modification on my bike and how it's going to affect the trade-in value if I was to buy one of these adventure bikes. So I bought the bike in 2018, and when all was said and done, I paid about $8,000 for it. The current Kelley Blue Book trade-in value in good condition is $4,500. Now, a dealership is going to want to replace the seat, so they're going to charge me like $500 for that. I saved the original exhaust, which I can put back on, and then they're going to have some miscellaneous stuff that they're going to want to deduct for, so that's probably another $500. I'm going to be lucky to get like $3,500, maybe $4,000 for it on a good day. The HydroPro springs are $250. The labor is $500, and then I'm going to want to get new tires also, which is $500. So the total cost of upgrade is $1,250. So we have to look at that in two ways. One is in comparison to the $4,500 value, and the other is how long do I want to keep the bike. So bikes maintain their value for about 10 years, and then they start to drop. If you really love the bike and you plan on keeping it for years, which I might do with this SV650, then putting $1,200 into it every couple of years is not a big deal at all. Now, if I was going to go and buy one of these new adventure bikes, they run anywhere from like $10,000 to $12,000. Then you're going to add tax, title, and license is about $750, $800. Delivery and assembly is $500, maybe more. They'll give you like $3,500, maybe $4,000 for the trade-in. Your ride-out price is going to be about $97.50, which is really not that much lower than their asking price, you know. And then you're going to want to do some upgrades right away, right? So you buy this bike, you're going to want to put a new seat on it, do a couple other things. So add $750 to that, and your total cost is $10,500. But the good part is you're riding out the door with a brand new motorcycle, and it's going to maintain its value. In 4 years, my bike is not going to be worth that much. Now, conversely, I don't anticipate our roads are going to be getting any better in the next 4 years either. They tend to just fix these up every time they have an election, and I got to go out and ride on this stuff. So now I got to figure out what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and test drive some of these adventure bikes, and I'll compare them to my SV650. My SV650 is like almost in brand new condition. I do take very good care of it because I do love this bike. And spoiler alert, I've done this every year pretty much, and I always keep the SV650 because I think it's so awesome. I really did well buying this bike. I have never had any regrets about it. I think the longer I ride it, the more I like it. All right, folks, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps the channel out so I can keep making content like this. All right, peace out, folks.